would like to interact and some question and answers, but we have a couple of more solar presentations here. I would request Dr. Khanna to actually come over for the Ikratos presentation, and then we have Chakravarti sir also making on the solar thermal. They have delivered the first 50 megawatt solar concentrated solar power plant in Rajasthan, and I think that's also been covered by National Geographic, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so I think we will finish this and then we can have a good interaction.
Area for a long time and have been developing this, and now I see an excellent potential, and we have seen some excellent presentation from previously and Mr. Raja has been also mentioning a lot about the problems which are faced in the energy sector. So I think there is one motivation factor where I would like to present to you what is happening in Germany, what is happening worldwide, and then later on we will, Mr. Harhammer and myself will give a small presentation on the solar business which we are doing, and we are trying to upgrade and bring technology and education to India in this field. So if you look at the German solar industry, which is comprising of photovoltaic and solar thermy, here you see the numbers which are really exciting. So number one worldwide with 32.4 gigawatt peak of cumulative PV capacity in 2012. Number one worldwide 7.6 gigawatt peak of newly installed PV capacity in 2012. We talked about unemployment of people. Now, renewables and especially solar is giving 100,000 employees in 2012 in Germany and 265,000 in the European Union. The feed-in tariffs were between 10 to 15 cents per unit till July 2013. Now there's a big debate going on because of the energy transformation in the European Union, especially in Germany. And as you heard, till 2020 we have some very challenging targets. So people are really thinking how to reduce this cost, because this transformation process is an expensive transformation process, although it's a very dedicated, political, motivated process. So if you look at the investments which have been done in the photovoltaic industry, that is euro 11.2 billion of investments in 2012. So, and 13 billion turnover of PV manufacturers in 2012. I mean, these are astonishing figures. We are talking about growth of GDPs, we are talking about employment giving to people, and we are talking about clean energy and clean sources of energy. And when you look at energy plants, one of the major factors today, it is not the capex, it is the variable cost of those energy plants today, actually, the operating costs. And this is something, with the transformation process, which basically is a substitution process today in Europe and in Germany, we are trying to change that pattern. So by changing that pattern, you can see how ambitiously Germany's targets were, and Germany today is the world's leading PV market. Germany converts more solar energy into electricity than any other country. Germany achieved grid parity with levelized cost of energy, LCO, in 2011. And we are looking at further innovation, which is Germany's funding R&D activities with euro 200 million between 2011 and 2014. This is only Germany. EU is much larger over there. So look at the scenario of the solar, thermal, and concentrated solar power. Number one in Europe with 10.7 gigawatt of thermal totally installed power in 2011. 1.66 million of total installed units with 15.3 million square meters in 2011. We have seen some very impressive pictures over here. So, I mean, this is a very, very motivating start, because if you really look at it, Germany's radiation intensity may be 1/4 of what is in India today. So if you look at that, and I think there's no other way out but to look at renewables and look at the intelligent product and power mix today, actually. And one of those intelligent sources of energy, because as you heard from Mr. Ryder, the energy security is also one of the major issues. So we are answering most of those questions, or we are addressing most of those challenges, and one of the ways could be, and I think that is certainly a very, very important way and role, is to tap our sun god's capability of giving and delivering us India, the country of gods. So sun god is already blessing us so much, so why not use his sources over here, you see? So looking at the investment which are being done, so 1 billion euros of investment in new installations in 2011, 1.1 billion turnovers of manufacturing in Germany, including CSP and exports. Alone 14,100 employees in 2011, and these employees, when we are talking about, they are not unskilled or skilled people, unskilled or semi-skilled people, these are skilled people. So that means the education level is also increased of those people, so we are also giving employment and education to those people. So annual incentive program of MAP up to euro 500 million are available, and euro 4 billion funds for R&D of new technologies is available to the ENFRA. So solar energy plays a key role in Germany's sustainable energy future, and is already one of the most important renewable energy sources for both the supply of electricity and heating. Now we come to worldwide scenario. What is happening in the world? So if we are looking at that, renewable energies is the name of the game. And as most of you know, Germany is one of the leading countries in that, but there are other countries also. So if you look at a European scenario, you look at the US and partly in the Far East, Japan and China, they are also doing a lot in those areas. So total investments in 2012 were about $244 billion in the renewable energies. So total renewable power capacity exceeded 1,470 gigawatts in 2012, which is up 8.5% from 2011, from which wind power was 39%, hydropower was 26%, and solar power was 26%, and solar power is increasing further. Solar PV capacity reached 100 gigawatt, from which Germany is about 35 gigawatts by now. So global solar PV installations record reached 30.5 gigawatts in 2012. Global installed wind capacity record hit 48.4 gigawatts in 2012. So investments in PV rose from $77 billion in 2011 to $80 billion in 2012 in the small scale area. So we have been talking about big plants. Big plants certainly have certain advantages, but at the same time, we see the growth of small plants much, much more than the bigger plants actually. So growth factor is much higher over there. So investments in PV fell 24% to $52.7 billion for projects above 1 megawatt large scale, as I said. But this is also due to because of the cost of PV also has come down considerably in comparison to previously when the cost of photovoltaic. Worldwide, and Mr. Raya, this is what you were also addressing, how to give employment to people. 5.7 million employees worldwide in rising trend. So I see from the macroeconomical point, it is a good solution for India also to go in for renewable energies. So some of the highlights of the example developments we have seen, one of the highlights in Gujarat actually here, but there are other countries also which are also investing quite extensively. And Morocco, we have a project of 1.5 billion investment for the Mazen Kwarzatats project, and Gujarat you heard, and we are addressing naturally the climate change also, and we are helping to reduce the after effects of the methane and carbon dioxide, or hydrocarbons and carbon dioxide, and pollution into the environment. So $1 billion investments for 396 megawatt wind projects in Mexico. Major renewable drive for projects in India, Brazil, China, as I mentioned earlier, Indonesia, Japan, and South Africa. In EU, this is 1,116 cities and towns joining to commit the 20% CO2 reduction, carbon dioxide reduction. And as you see, it's also a financial incentive. If you look at Warren Buffett, who is a well-known multi-billionaire today worldwide, his Mid-American Holdings issued 850 million bond for a 550 megawatt Topaz solar farm in California. And this was oversubscribed by more than $400 million. So we have further drivers of economy and business here, and which is really quite attractive from the financial standpoint also. So if anybody is hesitating to invest into these projects, I think Warren Buffett is one of the key figures, and if he is doing it, most of the people worldwide are following him. So I don't understand why in India financing is a problem over here, you see. So $5 billion of green bonds were issued in 2012, which is a 44% increase over 2011. So gentlemen, I don't have to tell you much, but I think that is the way to go, and that is what the answer for the future is. Naturally, we have a lot of challenges from the technical side, but today engineering is at a level where those challenges can be solved. And as you mentioned, the frequency fluctuation, also we can control the reactive power with the active power, and that can be controlled. So in Germany, we are controlling basically 70% of the active power actually, so that in that way we can manage the grid very well. And I think those are issues which can be addressed and which can be handled. Naturally, there may be other issues locally which you have to look at that, and the policymakers have to work together with various technical people to get those solutions. I have a small example of my personal renewable project, as you can see. I've just given some pictures over here. I have turned completely renewable in my home because I wanted to become independent, or not so much dependent on the public utilities. So in Germany, we need a lot of heating, so I have wood, so I cut wood and I clean my forests actually. So as you see, there are some pictures. I'm cutting wood, I'm slaughtering that wood, I'm putting that in the forest, and besides this is carbon neutral, so I'm also not adding to the pollution at least. Then I have put solar thermal panels on my roof in my house. So as you can see here, they're giving 80 degrees of water temperature. So in summer, I don't need any oil or anything else, you see. So I'm using whatever that meager solar power is available in Germany to do it. So here are my boilers. Here is my wood plant, as you can see. On the other side, you see my picture cutting wood actually. And this year when I saw my electricity bill, I got mad at it because every year the electricity bill was increasing by 10 to 15%, and naturally also the consumption. So I met Willie and I decided, let me put a PV plant on my barn over here. So as you can see some of the pictures, There are only 2 guys working over there, and I installed a small plant of 10 kilowatt peak. And here we have on the side one of the electricians of Ikratos, who did all the setup of the inverter and connected the wiring and everything in 4 to 6 hours. So my whole plant was done practically within 2.5 days. So I talked to Willie, I said, why not let's go to India and start doing a little bit into the solar area. And here we are today, gentlemen, looking at the solar, and I thank you for being patient with my small little presentation over here. Thank you very much. And I would like to do the solar presentation with Willie together on Ikratos itself. We need a little bit of solar energy. So Solar City Ikratos shows all kinds of techniques as its business location in Germany. And Willie, maybe you can add a couple of words over here to your organization in Germany.
Okay, I can do it. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Willi Harmer, and I give you some presentation. It's true that I've been married since 29 years. I have 2 adult children, 2 sons. I'm the managing director of Ikratos. Ikratos is a technology company, exists in south of Germany. We are very successful. We have 3,700 credentials. We make small ones, we make big ones, we will show it to you. We make this business since 13 years, and I give you a little bit, I show you a little bit from the German side. Since 2000, there's a rule or regulation from the German government, and they make stimulation of renewable energies. Therefore, the propagation of renewable energies in Germany, which is in Europe a definitely colder area in the world, with less sunshine than in India here, has gained up to 25% at this moment now. 25% is much for a country like us. And now we have a new government. I think you have heard it. Angela Merkel is now voted, and we think the green ones are coming with Angela Merkel, and then environment goes on in Germany. Did you know that 15 minutes of sunshine is enough to provide the whole world with electrical power? 15 minutes? Do you know this? Only 15 minutes. I see this project in Gujarat. Respect. So.
Shall I continue, or
yes.
Do you want to give some? Okay.
Yes.
Side, and plus the possibility of exporting electricity into the grid at the same time, you see. So this is one of the major driving forces to put photovoltaics or PV systems in Germany, actually. So how it works is simple. Willie, would you like to add some little bit on here? As in the past, solar power was sold to the grid provider. Today, solar power is used immediately at the location of production. That means for own consumption, actually.
Please, the presentation before, the picture before. And also on the cardboard, you see it here. Can be both or one of them. And solar, the light is shining. You must not have solar, you must have light, that it works. And here, current is existing, and it goes now in inverters. You see here inverters, and from them it goes up in the electricity in the house, and then it is working. It's a very simple system. Everybody can do it. I say it is very simple. In Germany you have now rules and regulations and you must keep them and all these things. And then it goes in the house, and what's all over, it goes in the grid. It's a very simple system, and we do it in this way. We make it also, you see it on the other pictures, for industrial plants.
Showing what I said previously, that the household electricity consumption is increasing more and more with the rising prices of the electricity over here, actually. So this chart depicts that a little bit. If you want to add a couple of words really to that chart, or shall I continue?
You see it in the year 2011.
Basically, the utilities are supplying electricity today at about 30 cents per kilowatt hour, and whereas we are producing electricity less than 10 cents per kilowatt hour. So actually, if you see, we are saving 2/3 of the cost by supplying PV power to the households. And that is also one of the driving forces to put PVs on the houses, actually. So the conclusion of that is, it's a very wise conclusion. What nobody knows is self-generated power is always cheaper. And you've seen that example of why I have started producing my own power with various means of biomass and solar power and PV power, actually. So here are some of the examples of what has been done by Ikratos. So there are more than 3,700 credentials or references which Ikratos has built over the past 13 years in Germany, and are also gradually getting into the international market because of their expertise and know-how to handle small and big projects at the same time. So really, maybe you can tell a little bit of the stories about each of these projects over here.
Yeah, this is one of our first project here. This must be something like 100 kilowatts. It is on a tennis hall and a sport hall. And here you see it on the roof. We make it on the bricks. Also, there's a construction underneath, and then it will be fixed. And here you see it's not the south, it's must be the west, and you must stand it up because the best will be the south. In Germany you see it here, you have another rectangle. In Germany we have another rectangle than here in India. Here you see a waste deposit where we make the panels on site. Some other house. And here a bigger one must be half a megawatt. Now we have built our company nearly 50 megawatts, something like this. We have not added now. Yes.
So there are various applications, various types. You will see also here, and
some single houses with technology. This is sun power. We have thin film on the facility here. Here for sun does not go in the rooms here. Normal houses for us, we make every year nearly 500 projects of this kind of solar projects in Germany.
So this is some of the facets, different applications. Which one is this really? This is Siemens, is it?
It must be Siemens, or another electronic company here must be Siemens, yes.
Yeah, the interesting part is, as you may be knowing, Siemens has given up their solar business. So those people are coming to us to put the solar business for them, actually, you see, because I think we are more effective and more efficient to handle the business and the logistics of those businesses rather than multinationals like Siemens and others. that's so. Even E.ON, which is a big utility today in Germany, and they are producing. They are the number 2 in Germany. They are also cooperating with us to supply for their solar plants. Actually, is that right, Willie?
Yeah.
Okay. You want to add something to the solar winter garden or something like that?
No,
Nothing.
this is a semi panel here. The light goes through, and also current was produced there.
So here's a nice example what we do with the car industry. The car industry is coming up. As you know, Tesla in USA is working very extensively on the solar cars. And what is happening in Germany today, we have already started planning solar carports nowadays. So because to enable to meet the demand of the electrical cars in the future. So this is, do you have that picture in this one with the car which we are feeding, or is it not in this one?
No.
Okay. Anyhow, you want to add something over here?
No, it's okay.
It's okay.
Perhaps one thing, electromobility, Germany wants to have 1 million of electrical cars until the year 2020. But it starts now. We have in our company hybrid cars, and we have also 1 or 2 electrical car. It works, it's no problem.
BMW is very aggressively working now on the iCar, actually, you see. So that is going to be one of the major thrusts. And this is, as I mentioned earlier, Germany has been very innovative in this area and is continuing to do so, because the challenge is to have innovation and invest into R&D. And I think that is where the leadership in technology will be one of the major decisive factors for the future, actually, to be economical and at the same time to be most efficient. And that is something, which we are really looking for, because we want to improve the electrical efficiency, which is still not up to the target which one expects with conventional systems today, actually. When we are talking about gas engines or diesel engines or turbines, we are talking somewhere of an efficiency of 40% fuel efficiency. And then with combined cycle plants, we are going up to 60% roughly. So cogeneration, again, we will talk about decentralized energy later on. We are talking about 80 to 90% of fuel efficiency, actually. And I think that is one of the major areas where we have to see. But actually, knowing this, as you know, the capex is hardly matters if you look at the total cost of the plants and their IRRs on a long-term basis, actually. So I think the variable cost is one of the most decisive factors, and also the most vulnerable and volatile factors for the future. So you have to see that the source of supply is as cheap as possible. And I think that is where wind and solar and hydro will really affect, whereas hydro, the gestation period is much more higher in comparison to solar. And solar will be the least gestation period, probably. And if you look at the economics of the plants, I think solar should, on the long run, because with the technology taking over, the cost mechanism will change very rapidly in that area. So the future mobility we mentioned. Here we are given a very simple example of the photovoltaic system for a payback period, actually. So then if you consider 50 kilowatt peak costs nearly $50,000, it may surprise, but if you, let's say with the radiation factor over here in Mumbai, which would be about 1 million kilowatt hours per year, means about 1 kilowatt at the rate of, these are ballpark figures, okay? So we are just looking at that with 10 cents per kilowatt. That means a saving roughly of $10,000 per year. It's really so without having any compounding or any discounting factors. If you just look at the payback period of the plant in roughly about 5 years' time, so that is still quite attractive, because when you look at conventional plants, you're looking at a payback for more than 7 to 10 years, depending upon what kind of plants you're putting in, actually, you know. Especially when you're looking at coal plants and thermal plants, I think that that is where fixed cost becomes a political factor also over there, and with the subsidies coming in, and as we heard, all the problems with the coal and with the ash content, I don't see anybody giving you a realistic figure nowadays, because these are all plan figures, actually, you see, and this is one of the major problems of the power and energy sector today, because all those figures are made favorable to look attractive, but whether they are really that attractive, that's a different story, actually, you know. So, because you're not looking at the social cost involved also into that, you see. So that is something, you know, which one has to really consider from the holistic point of view when one is really looking at costing. And we just look at the plant cost, but what else is required to run that plant, and the after effects of that. That is something, you know, which nobody can define at this stage, actually. Really, this is a nice figure, promotional figure which I put over here. We have the Energy Campus in Nuremberg. Maybe you can add a couple of words here, because in which Siemens and all these companies are participating, and we are also one of the members of that, as I understand. Besides, the University of Erlangen, the technical university, is working on a lot of energy solutions, and we are also participating in some R&D programs over there. And so there are certain institutions as Umweltkompetenz Nordbayern, which is basically translated as the environmental competence of North Bavaria, and then there are some other IT companies, and Lions Club is supporting some of these initiatives over here. So this is just to give you overview how people are interested to work on the future prospects of energy, and there are a lot of organizations and philanthropic institutions helping to achieve those targets today. So these are the various federal associations. So this nice gentleman is one of the MLAs of the areas. Really? Maybe you can add?
The left is Franz Alt, one of the famous people in renewable energy in Germany. He was in our company 2006, now it's 7 years ago. We are very proud that he has time for us, and middle you see we have arranged some way. It's called Sun and Planet Way. On the right you see here
Advertising.
Versammlung, wie heißt?
What?
Ja, unsere shows, events.
Okay.
On the right.
ECRATOS is doing a lot of social work also. So this is some of the examples which ECRATOS is also putting up certain investments in certain areas, and which are being supported by the local governmental members, and they are also subsidizing.
Schools, kindergartens, all these things. Yes.
So these are so naturally, it's always in the interest of the politicians to have these kind of motivations. So they are Germany, they're supporting these type of events also over there. Like we are sitting here today with professors together and trying to bring some light into the environmental aspects of energy. Yeah. So Franz Alt, and I think you made a planetary path, if I'm not mistaken, with the TV. So this was with an artist actually together, as I understand. Oh. So you can combine art, you can combine philosophy, and you can combine energy today. You see there are various aspects of looking at from various angles. But finally, it is the deciding factor how you communicate to people to make them understand what are the opportunities in these areas, you see, with certain examples, and that's what we are trying to do over here. So this is Ikratos in India, Africa and Great Britain. Willie, this is your ball. You can tell about Africa, India, we are all sitting here.
On the left, you see in left up, you see we have founded a company in Africa. It's called Ikratos Africa. On the right, you see us in Bhutan, Africa. It was 6 years ago. It's very successful there. We started with small plants. Now we make bigger plants. We will make a plant 32 megawatts. We will plan it. I hope it comes. And on the right down, you see our company in England, in UK. We have made there, I would say, 150 projects.
Yes. And on the right side, on the top, really, that is where
Bhutan.
that's in Bhutan. This is we were all together there doing also a conclave over there at that time. And India, we have just incorporated a company over here, and we hope to be active very soon over here.
Yeah.
So basically, our target is to bring the German technology and know-how and see how we can upgrade certain standards of technology in India also.
In Germany, we were visited from countries like Brasilia, Mongolia, from Africa, from much states from Africa, Namibia, South Africa, Ghana, Nigeria, and also from Colombia, from South America. They're coming to us to see what is happening in Germany, how is the technology, and we can give you also, if you are visiting Germany, we can also give you a little presentation if you want. But we have, in the future, we will education here. You can say some words on this, please, for the Indian people.
Basically, we are looking at, as I mentioned, upgradation of technology here and to train also people to bring that to a certain standard. So technology is one part, but the other part, which is very important, is the implementation of this technology. So you have to set certain standards and benchmark for that. And I think that is what is required so that these projects are successful on a long term and not only on a short term, and they are sustainable also. I think education and training of the people, of the skilled people, is very, very important, and they have to keep on upgrading their knowledge also. So this is what we are also intending to do in India.
With German standard, say.
So these are some of the events and special. So summary, Willie, this is your words. We are professionals for photovoltaic.
We say yes to renewable energies, and thank you very much for your attention. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
We saw a complete boom in the IT sector in the past. And I think the takeover will come from the solar and wind, in the combination. Wind is already employing, but I think solar looks to up that ante and the potential in a very big way, if we see. So I think in that way, for India, a nation with a lot of population, solar from that angle also is important. And we must mention here that the capital expenditure, the capex that we talk about, in fact, the two part of the tariffs in any calculation is the variable and the fixed. And if you look at it, actually, solar is actually zero cost. Even wind is zero cost. May I now request Chakravarti to come over, and he's from the HERA Group. HERA Group has executed the first successful 50 megawatt solar thermal concentrated power.
Godavari Green Energy Limited was one of the 7 companies to be selected under the first phase of Jawaharlal Nehru National Solar Mission for executing the solar thermal projects. Out of the 61 that bid for 500 megawatt. Fortunately, we were H2 in reverse bidding, and our tariff was 12 rupees 20 paisa. HERA Group has its presence in steel, ferroalloys, energy, mining, as you can see. And in energy sector, we have around 150 megawatt of conventional coal-based thermal power plant operating in Raipur in Chhattisgarh. Most of them are captive. Some of them are independent power plant. We are also constructing a 300 megawatt coal-based power plant in Korba, Chhattisgarh. Solar, after the advent of Jawaharlal Nehru National Solar Mission, we thought of entering into the solar field also. We were interested in solar thermal power right from the beginning. We were not very interested in solar PV because some part of solar thermal is similar to the conventional thermal power plant also. That was the main reason that we were more interested in solar thermal. This is the company that deals with the renewable power portfolio of HERA Group. Yesterday, we were awarded by Dr. Farooq Abdullah, Minister MNRE, for being the first commercially operated solar thermal power plant in India and first of National Solar Mission. These are some of the operational capacities of countries. Spain, as we all know, is leading as far as solar thermal is concerned. One special exception is there. China is at number 30. And on this issue, I would like to discuss with Mr. Raja and Mr. Choksi afterwards in detail as to why China is at 13 as far as solar thermal is concerned. There were certain issues, and I fear that those issues don't come up while implementing the National Solar Mission of India also. This is basically how our plant looks like. And this is how it looks like from Google. Our plant is available on Google also. On the north side, what you see is the raw water reservoir pond. We have a 60 days storage capacity. That is mainly because the water is being taken from Indira Gandhi Nehar Pariyojana canal, the canal that flows through Rajasthan. And around 35 to 40 days is the annual shutdown period of that canal to clean the canal. So to be on the safer side, we have taken a cushion of another 20 days, and the storage capacity of this reservoir is for around 60 days. If you see the basic plot, the solar field is divided into 4 fields. The problem with solar thermal, especially the parabolic trough technology, is that your plot has to be exactly rectangular, oriented north-south. So that since it is a single tracking technology, while the sun goes from east to west, your mirror tracks, and therefore the plot has to be exactly north-south oriented so that the mirrors can track from east to west. Now, in the second phase of the mission, we are in discussions with some of the technology providers for tower technology, because this compulsion will not be there in case of tower technology. In the center, you can see the power block in between the solar fields. The total area was around 375 acres. And I don't know about to acquire a land for 50 megawatt coal-based thermal project. So we were very shocked when we got the land in just 2 months in Rajasthan. So district Pokhran, Tehsil Pokhran district Jaisalmer. Solar resource as compared to other locations is comparatively better in Rajasthan and Gujarat. Now, there was a mandatory requirement in the PPA that we signed with NTPC Vidyut Vyapar Nigam Limited, that we have to install a weather monitoring station at our site to monitor the solar radiation data and give it to MNRE as well as NVVN for preparation of database as to which sites are good for solar in India. Even CWET has put up around 51 stations all over India, mainly in Gujarat, Rajasthan and Tamil Nadu and Andhra Pradesh. It is in the range of 1850 to 1900 watt per meter square per year. Now the basic thumb rule from around 10 o'clock in the morning to around 3:30 in the evening. But because of lack of transmission infrastructure, most of the days are, especially in that area. Water, as I already told you, is taken from Indira Gandhi Nehar Canal, which is around 80 kilometers from our side. National Solar Mission, we all know, it's divided into 3 phases. The power from the solar developers will be bundled with VGF scheme, the viability gap funding scheme, because we are not getting unallocated quota from NTPC. Also, the target for the second phase is around 4,000 megawatts. Getting 1,000 megawatt for the first will come somewhere in October, November. This is how our basic plan of our plant is. These are the solar mirrors, parabolic trough mirrors. Power block, you can see the T-rater, the LP heater and HP heater platforms. This is the basic fundamental on which the parabolic trough mirror works. It basically concentrates the sun's heat to a central receiver tube, which carries a liquid, the HTF, which we call heat transfer fluid. That heat transfer fluid gets heated up and then it goes to the power block. It heats the water, generates a steam, and then down the line it is conventional power plant. It runs a turbine. The tracking is from morning it will face eastwards and then in the evening it will face westwards. The concentration ratio is around 82. The heat that we get from the sun is concentrated by around 82 times on that central receiver. The limitation with parabolic trough collector is that since we are using that oil to heat the water, the oil can gain a maximum temperature of only 400 degrees. So the steam that we can generate, maximum temperature that we can reach is around 380-385 degrees. The advantage with tower technology is that the steam temperature can go up to 580. So the turbine efficiency increases very much in case of tower technology, which is a limitation with parabolic trough. The technology we chose parabolic trough in the first phase was because we are doing it. This is how a solar thermal plant basically works. The red lines that we see are the central receivers, the receiver tube that we say. There are only 2 manufacturers in the world. One is Siemens. As we all know that Siemens is now owned up the CSP business. And another one is short glass from US. Our receiver tubes are from short glass. Now scrap the storage idea. Lanco is now going without storage. Because their 4 hours of storage is now effectively coming to only 20 minutes. The number of solar collector assemblies, if you are familiar with the terminology, I don't know. Solar collector assemblies for the aperture area of the mirrors. If this is the parabola, the aperture area is around 5.71 meters. Aperture area of each SC is 870. Length of each flux is 150 meters. The optical efficiency, it depends on the reflectivity of the mirror, the absorptivity of the receivers, the angle, sun incidence angle, and all those things. And it comes to the solar field efficiency. The optical efficiency, basically the solar field efficiency, comes to around 69 to 70%. The plant has been covered by National Geographic also, and it will be shown sometime in the first week of October under the program Mega Structures. The total capital investment is somewhere around 900 crores. And this was primarily because around 40% of the items are imported mirrors are imported, the receiver tubes are imported, the HDF oil is imported, and we all know what happened to rupee during last 1 year. In fact, we are the only company among the 7 developers who are doing the entire structure work in India. The structure is around 11,500 tons for 50 megawatt for this much square meter of mirrors, around 4 lakh square meter of mirrors. The total structure is around 11,500 tons. We are the only company who are doing the complete structure work in India. There was a lot of debate initially when MNRE fixed 28 months time frame to complete the project from the date of signing of PPA. Everybody said even some of the milestones. Our purchase agreement was signed on 10th of January 2011. Financial closure, we were given a time of 6 months to do the financial closure. That was also a handicap in the policy. All the bankers knew that since we have to do it within 6 months, we could not negotiate on the interest rates. Otherwise, the project will be taken away by the developer from EPC contract we awarded in August 2011 and groundbreaking we did in November 2011. It took us 19 to 20 months to complete the project only because of the delivery in turbine. Whether you do a 25 megawatt project or a 50 or a 100, the turbine delivery takes, and when Siemens Sweden is involved in it, it takes another 4 months for commissioning, which we generally do in 2.5 to 3 months if we take someone somewhere from India. They are very particular about each and everything. We have a tendency of, ठीक है ना यार कल देख लेंगे, आज तो कर दो. They don't do it like that. Evacuation interconnection we completed in January. 100% solar field was erected in May 2013. Back charging, steam blowing, turbine pre-synchronization tests, all these dates. The first synchronization was done on 5th June. Coincidentally, is the World Environment Day. Yeah. And the plant commercial operation, it happened coincidentally. The plant started the commercial operation on 19th of June 2013. In fact, we are delayed by only 1 month from the original time frame that was given. Now, all the projects have been given an extension of 10 months, and now the scheduled commissioning date is 9th of March 2000. I mean, this is more out of my curiosity than your interest. This presentation was in fact prepared for yesterday's meeting with MNRE. MNRE was very apprehensive as to whether the DNI values that we are getting in the state of Rajasthan, where these projects are located, will be actually able to generate what they have complied in the PPA, the CUF that they have complied in the PPA. This is the best day that we had, 11th of September. I mean, again, a very remembered day for not very fond reasons, but in any case. Now, there is a difference between the policy that our government adopted for National Solar Mission and the policies that Spain and US have adopted. In our policy, we are not allowed to use any auxiliary fuel. We are not allowed to use auxiliary boiler. We are not allowed to use any auxiliary fuel. We have to generate power only by solar. Now what happens is the black curve that you see, that is the DNI curve. If you can see at 6 o'clock, the DNI starts. I mean, you start getting the sunlight. The DNI starts, but the plant starts at around 8 o'clock. That's because when we leave the HDF temperature at around 250 to 60 degrees in the evening, it drops by around 80 to 90 degrees overnight, and we have to heat it up in the morning again after getting the DNI. Now, if auxiliary fuel is allowed, and we are allowed to use an auxiliary boiler to heat, then what happens is, if you see the operating graphs of Spain and US, the start of DNI, I mean, start of sunrise, start of getting DNI of more than 200 watt per meter square, and the time of TG synchronization. there is hardly a difference of 5 to 10 minutes, which is not in our case. In our case, after getting the DNI, the TGE synchronizer, the challenge is time limit. As I said, for financial closure, it was 6 months from the date of signing of PPA, so you cannot negotiate on interest rates. Every banker knows that you have to submit the sanction letter within 6 months. Excise benefits, government has given excise benefits to us and concessional customs benefit for imported items, but the Senate credit is not given. That is a big issue. In any case, that cost is already added in the product. Availability of critical items, HTF, there are only 2 suppliers in the world. One is Dowthan, from whom we have taken the HTF, and another is Solutia. Lanco is stuck in this only because the amount, their project is of 100 megawatt and they have 2 projects. The amount of HTF that they require, nobody is able to cater them. HCE tubes, again I said Siemens and short glass only. And now Siemens has also wound up a company in China is coming up, but we will have to see the test reports of it. Because this is the most critical item as far as solar thermal power plant based on a parabolic trough technology is concerned. The receiver tube, HCE tubes. They million units, just because the DNI is lower by 10% from what was anticipated 2 years back. Lack of know-how and skills. These projects were done for the first time in India. As far as solar thermal is concerned, the power block is conventional as in conventional power plant plus. As far as solar field is concerned, we had absolutely no idea about how it will finally look like. We have seen pictures. There are a lot of literature present in the internet and you can see each and everything, but when you actually that are required, the small thing, knowledge about small things, how to use the hot bolt and how to actually align this parabolic frame structure. Negativity among lenders is now well known to everybody. 70 to 80 degrees drop in the night, the STF temperature. If auxiliary fuel is allowed, the government is thinking of allowing auxiliary fuel in the second phase of the mission. And if we pursue it in an honest way, maybe they will allow it in the first phase also. If we show them that this is the loss that we are incurring daily, in any case, the cost of DG set, I mean electricity generated by DG set is more than 10 rupees, I think, at today's cost. 9 rupees or 10 rupees.
How is more than that?
Yeah.
16 rupees?
Yeah.
On average. If you take everything together.
Generally, when we clean the mirror, the dust, the loose dust, it goes off, but dust film is there over the mirror. So you have to actually wipe the mirror, each and every mirror, and the frequency has to be once in a week to get the best result out of the mirrors. Wind speed, at our side particularly, I will say, we expected initially that the best generation period will be somewhere around 12 to 2. But because of the southwesterly winds, which is very predominant at our site in Rajasthan, the DNI fluctuates very much between 12 and 2. If you see the DNI graph consistently over a period of time. So the best generation period in our case is 10 to 12 and then 2 to 4. We don't get the best generation from 12 to 2 in our name. And MEVN says that DISCOM were supposed to open an LC of 6 months in their name. So it's a classic case of reverse back-to-back guarantee. Future larger capacity, because the biggest advantage of solar thermal over solar PV is storage. We can give electricity even after the sunset. That is the biggest advantage of solar thermal. Dry cooling, by this time we all know that most of the solar plants will come in Rajasthan and Gujarat. Rajasthan, we all know what is the situation of water there. If any incentive is given for dry cooling to use air-cooled condenser instead of water-cooled condenser, then that is an option. Technology option, solar tower, I think is going to be the chosen one from now onwards, because of the storage issue and because of the operating efficiencies issues also. Auxiliary fuel should be allowed, just you have any questions, you can ask me. Yeah.
Thank you.